Super Soul Sisters. My name is Rowena Kajumba, and we are here with Honorable Cecilia OGWAL. She has been dubbed so many names, but we shall leave that later for the discussion, and we see how that goes. I know this is going to be a pretty interesting discussion. She's made time for us today, and please take this walk with us as we go through her life.
Imagine the bus would leave you and you would walk about 2 kilometers to school, carrying your luggage, your suitcase, plus your mattress. There was a bus, a Ramtula bus that would take me to Aboke. Somehow when I saw the posters all over the walls, the trees, advertising about the rally which was to take place in town the following day. So instead of going that very day that my father expected me to go, I decided to make sure I attend the rally. When I saw the blankets being steamed in the big pots that were used for our cooking, I couldn't imagine myself eating from the same pot. So you can't imagine I escaped from school.
I know this is going to be a pretty interesting discussion.
How else would I show my community that girls could also do maths? They thought naturally, once you're a girl, you could not manage maths. And I was able to break through and show them that if boys can do it, girls can also do it. You can't imagine that I was carried in the storm.
You were taken with the storm.
And I landed in the next building and hit against the wall.
So let me ask, you mentioned Brooke Bond.
Yes.
When does you said that's when I got my title of Miss Uganda. So when does this pageant happen? It was Brooke Bond, like a tea kind of event?
Yeah, it's a tea marketing company, which was one of the leading companies controlling the marketing of the tea in East Africa.
Yes.
That's Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania.
Yes.
And that was the major marketing.
So when was this? Because I'm trying to figure out.
63.
Okay.
Yes.
After Senior 4 is when they had the contest?
Yes, after Senior 4. We sat exams. We sat this prize award in 63. That was when we got I got the award. And the award are different components. You know, they give you they were able to give us other things. You would ask whatever you want.
Okay.
You know.
So is that the same time the contest happened, the beauty contest?
No.
Okay.
That's a different story.
Okay.
So now, but of course now I have already been linked to that family of the Brooke Bond.
Of the Brooke Bond. Now I get the link.
I've been linked to that because the Brooke Bond now has given me a breakthrough. Because had I not participated in that competition, there's no way I would have met Miss Cox.
To go to Gayaza.
There's no way I would have gone to Gayaza.
Okay.
So in a way, I would say that divinely, the Lord used the Brooke Bond to connect me with Gayaza and pave the way for my future journey. That's how I look at it.
Exactly.
Yes, because I don't know whether I would have done equally well had I gone to the bingo. I don't know. Because the other friends, colleagues of mine who went to the bingo, I cannot now trace where they are.
Yes.
But I would imagine that going to Gayaza, although I was going to completely a different religious sect, but there's something new always to learn.
Definitely. And how was Gayaza for you then when you...
Yeah, so I went to Gayaza. It was quite exciting.
Yes.
But I think there is something in me which made me look vulnerable. You imagine I was in S5. Miss Cox still fails. For me to go out, I needed someone to keep an eye on me.
You.
We used to have social events.
Yes.
They would take Gaya's girls, and I think the boys also would have a social event, a dance or something like that in the Makerere, that big
social, yes.
Whatever it was. And it was a big thing. So Miss Cox asked me, would you like to go? I said, yes, of course. And I had my dress.
Yes.
And do you know what dress it was? Because I used to stay with that Indian family.
Yes.
And I had a sari. And I used to look at that sari and said, when can I
When will
ever
I
put
wear
on
this
this
one?
dress?
Yes.
And she even taught me how to wear it. Beautiful pink sari. I still remember it. So I put on that sari on that day.
Yes.
I put on that sari dress. And of course, the British fashion had invaded Uganda. You know, people look
Definitely.
smart in their British attire and things like that. But for me, I put on sari. So in any case, I was the only one dressed like an Indian. but I think, giving the rating, I think I was smart enough,
Yes.
you know. So I went to Makerere, but I was asked to look to Betty Bikangaga. Betty Bikangaga was a lady who was in the same class with me, but she was much older than me. And so Miss Cox asked her to keep an eye on me. What could I do? You know.
Yes.
But one thing they could be sure of is that I would not misbehave.
Definitely, yes.
Because some of us were brought up under very strict supervision and so on. But still, you know, I was very suspicious. In primary, I had to be looked after, you know,
And
in
even
secondary,
now, yes.
even secondary, in Sacred Heart, I'm talking to you about, I had a lady called Angelina who had to look after me, you know, sort of like taking care of me, somehow checking on my clothing, my what, you know, that kind of thing. What was it in me that people did
Had
not,
to, yeah.
that people saw me as being vulnerable, as a child that needed help?
Yes.
I couldn't see. But I was very active, running all over that place, and I thought I could do things myself, but I think I wasn't doing it to the best of the expectation of the school. That's what I think. So here I am in Gayaza. I go for this first event. We were taken there in a bus. I think it must have been in a bus. And guess what? That was when I met my future husband for the first time.
Interesting. That just raised.
He told me he had seen me before. He had seen me before.
So this whole time.
He had seen me before in my brother's home somewhere, but I had not taken note of him. The thing is, we were brought from Gayaza, right? And the event was such that students from different schools, girls and boys schools, were brought for this social event. And what is that social event? Just dancing.
Dancing. Definitely.
Mixing around, you know. And I think that was well thought out.
Yes.
Because you'll find that some of us who come from Catholic establishment, you never get opportunity to mix with boys.
Yes.
You know, leave alone dancing. Many of us in our own rooms will learn how to
Yes,
how
you definitely
how to dance,
moves,
you know,
yes.
that kind of thing. It helps you to fit in.
Yes.
So I wasn't very bad because I told you my father was a guitarist.
So you grew up in a very
strokes,
musical.
I could do that. I could not very well, but it wasn't.
You could pull some good moves.
Yeah, it wasn't straight because
Yeah.
I think I was better fitted.
Yes.
When it comes to quick strokes.
Yes.
Yeah, because I had learned at a very early age.
Yes.
From my father. So it wasn't strange to me, and we never went through it during O level. We never had social event during my O level, throughout my O level. This was the first event I was having,
So
where
did he
the
ask you
boys
to
would
dance?
be mixed with
Did
girls.
he-
And mind you, some of the graduates and adults would join. That's how I met my husband, who had come in the company of some doctors. And one of the doctors happened to be my cousin. He was also going to be with the Lord, Dr. David Onapa. So David Onapa, of course, now she's the cousin from Gayaza, and was very excited. The cousin was very well dressed. So
Introduces the friend.
yes, no, he comes to dance with me. He comes to, because he remembers me, and I was always excited to at least sight someone I knew.
Exactly.
You know. So David came and picked me up, and we danced. And then when we finished, he then introduced me
To the friend.
to to this Mr. Smart Lamek, Smart Ogwal. And I think there was a medical doctor there called Dr. Bua, and others. So now, whether there was an arrangement between my cousin and my friend, I don't know. But all I know is that he told me that it is okay to dance with him.
Okay.
You know?
Yes.
So he then, when the next music came, Mr. Ogwal asked me for a dance. And we danced. Simply just a dance. But I think that was, so I knew Mr. Ogwal and took a picture of who he was on that day.
Yes.
You know.
But he says he had seen you before.
He had seen me before, but I hadn't taken mark of him.
Okay.
But this time I've taken mark of him, a man with a deep voice and very handsome looking. Not bad. You know, so
young girl, you're excited, you've seen.
So I went back, do my own things. But the advantage I had in Gayaza, which I will always thank the school administration for, I stood out as a Catholic girl.
Yeah.
And I wanted to worship in a Catholic church. You know, I didn't want to be forced to go to church in the Anglican church. No. I wanted to maintain my Catholic faith, even if I was in an Anglican establishment, because Gayaza maintained Anglicanism. And here he was saying, yes, I know I'm in an Anglican school, but I want to maintain my faith as a Catholic. And so Miss Cox was very good to me. Miss Cox allowed me to get out of the gate every Sunday.
So that you could go and...
So that I could go and pray in the, I think it was called St. Joseph, just across the gate. And that's where I used to go in the parish church every Sunday. This was a great favor because many students were not allowed
to actually move.
To actually cross the gate. Once you are in,
you're in.
After holidays, you are in until you are out again for holidays. Anglican culture in Gayaza was slightly different from the Catholic culture in Sacred Heart. You know, Sacred Heart, there was the Catholic discipline, watching over the girls, you know.
Making sure they dressed a certain way.
They would even read letters, letters you receive.
Aye.
Yeah, they would read our letters.
Okay.
But thanks be to God, in O level I didn't have any boyfriend. if a boy wrote to me, maybe the letter was intercepted.
Probably.
I don't know. But I never got any letters.
Yes.
But others would be called to the to the teacher's office and ask questions. Who is this boy and what have you? But I was never called to ask, which means maybe I didn't get it. But in Gayaza, we were now grown up enough, but Mr. Ogwal would sometimes come in the company of other people to visit their friends.
Yes.
And in the process,
you know, obviously for him.
Yeah, we get to greet, we get to know each other and so on. This young man called Mr. Smart Ogwal was then working as a civil servant.
Yes.
So he was already working while I was still a student. So when I went to university in Nairobi, I think that is one of the stories that you may be interested in.
Yes, because as far as the little I know, you were 4 ladies, 4 women, and the first.
We were 4 women from Uganda.
Okay. Did they already have women in the university from Kenya, or you were the first women?
There was no woman at all.
So you were the first women?
For BCom.
Okay.
For reasons I don't understand. There was no rule that women should not be taken.
Yes.
But women were not going, which means either they were being discouraged or what, I don't know.
Yeah.
Even us, when we filled a form to join University of Nairobi,
for BCom,
we were asked to choose alternative. Should we find it hard to adjust?
you can have another
you
course
could
to go
have.
for.
Yeah, they wanted to give us a soft ground.
So which means
change.
there've been some sort of
Yeah,
discouragement.
yeah, there was some and doubt. Maybe not with bad intention, maybe doubt. I don't know. Because people think girls fear things which are mathematical, statistical,
yes,
that kind of thing. I don't know. And commerce is quite statistical.
So how did that feel for you to know that we've got the opportunity, we've not been stopped, we're only the
No,
four
it
of
was,
us? Yes.
one thing which I didn't tell you. We used to have career guidance.
Okay.
And a team came from Kampala to meet us in Secretariat before I went to Gayaza. And they were asking us, because from O level, you can decide whether you want to go for teaching, or you want to go for nursing, or you want to go for A level and advance to university and so on. There were options available.
Yes.
So these people came to us, and they were talking to us, the girls, that the options that were readily available for us,
Or the easier
for girls,
ones,
that
yes.
teaching, nursing, and secretarial training. They always irritated me. I mean, anything injustice would irritate me.
Yes.
So I put up my hands and I asked, now, if you don't want to do teaching or nursing or do secretarial training, what else is available?
Yes.
So they were telling us, it's a great risk because some girls will get pregnant and so on. So I insist, supposing I don't want to get pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah. They said, okay, you can do anything you want, anything you want. But these are the readily available, which we would recommend. Interesting enough, this guest of ours, he requested the headmistress to invite me to meet them when they were going for tea in the headmaster's office.
Yes.
So I went there to meet them. And I think one of the permanent secretaries, I don't remember the name, maybe I'll have to check in the Google. I think his name was Fred Rubanda. I'm not sure. Now, this Fred Rubanda was in the team. So he asked me, what do you want to be? Do you know, I just readily answered, I want to be a manager.
You did not see that one come.
I just said I want to be a manager. What irritated me was, why is it that a man must always be the boss, and then the woman is either a secretary or a cleaner or why?
A teacher, or yes.
Yeah. Let me be the manager, and let me see how women can continue to wash those days. I just wanted to be a manager and see what happens. If I can do it, why not? Yeah. So I just told the manager, okay, what subjects would you like to do? I said, I don't know. But for me, I know what I want to do. I want to be a manager, full stop. So now it is your duty to guide me what to do. So Rubanda, of course, told me when I go to A level, I may need to do economics. Maybe do economics, and we didn't have business studies at that time at A level. So, but one thing he raised with me at that stage was to do economics. At A level.
Yes.
It was now in my mind that when I go to A level, I will do economics.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, when I went to Gayaza, there was no economics. So I had to do strange combinations. But I insisted I must go for BCom.
Yes.
With my biology, my geography, my history, and whatever it is. Because I had no other option. In my school in O level, we didn't have, it was still a new school, so we didn't have chemistry and physics. It was not being offered because we didn't have the facilities. So we didn't have science as a foundation. So for that matter, I could now not go for engineering or whatever you may want. But I still insisted I wanted to do BCom.
And when you applied, you got it.
And I applied and I got it. So
That is, yeah.
Let me do it. Okay. I was asked, what would you like in case you failed to adjust?
With the BCom course.
What would be the option for the BCom? They gave us 1 semester. What would you want to do? So my brother, my late brother was a lawyer himself, advised me to do law. So I said I will go to Dar es Salaam for law. Because at that time, you're doing medicine, you remain in Makerere, you want to do architecture or BCom, you go to Royal University, Nairobi. You want to do law, you go to Dar es Salaam. So that was it. That's why it was an East African university.
Yes.
So with my BCom, I had to go to go to Nairobi. But now that the second option would be law, it would mean leaving Nairobi
to
go to Dar es Salaam. But arrangements were made. So it would not be an issue to have me admitted for law. But surprisingly, we all started there were no issues of adjustment. The economics, which I ought to have done, became one of the major subjects we were doing in BCom. The law I should have gone for, I found law was part of the subject in BCom. Because there's a lot of law of contract and things like that. So I didn't find any. So I was also asking myself, why did they think women could not do this course? Because I didn't see anything strange.
Yes.
I had never done economics before, but I was doing it like any other person who had done BCom in A-level. Even when it comes to presentation, my presentation was sometimes even better.
Yes, than the one for the men.
There were no issues. But they ate their own currency. We had two ladies from Tanzania, they were both Asians. They joined us, so there were now six ladies. Yes. Uganda offered 4 indigenous women, but Tanzania offered 2 Asians. Kenya did not offer any candidate for BCom. So we were the 6 pioneer candidates for BCom. And we went through. Of course, in our second year, women now joined. I remember some ladies now joined from Kenya, following us. Yes. But we were the pioneer team. Yes. The pioneer team. Come to the end. Of course, you know, we had the people, the current Minister of Trade, Francis Mwebesa, was my classmate. The current Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija. Yes. We sat on the same desk. Come at the end of the course, we were able to prove that women were better. Yes. So two of us from Uganda, and both of us come from Gayaza. Yes. A lady called Eva Mukasa and myself, we stood out to get upper second. From the time BCom started in Nairobi, not a single of their male candidate ever got upper second. Nice. That was a good challenge. No male student ever got upper second. That was a good recorded challenge by University of Nairobi. It was first, the upper second was first recorded during our year. And it so happened that the two ladies from Uganda became the pioneer in recording upper second in the University of Nairobi. So really, women have been badly judged. Yes. For so many, so you can see how much we have been bottled for so many years. And that changed the trend, of course, on how the university was operating and giving more opportunities to women. Yes. So you had said you had won yourself a prize. This thing of Miss Uganda of yours, first of all, let me put it, I use every opportunity, and let me use this opportunity to correct it again. I never participated in Miss Uganda pageantry. Never. It was a Brooke Bond. Yes. At university? No. We had graduated. Oh, okay. That was 69. That was when we graduated. I was already back here. I was back in Uganda from Nairobi in July. Okay. And so that thing came in the newspapers. I didn't see it. They dubbed it. Yes, yes. Actually, the theme was anytime is tea time. We are the ones who coined that statement, which has lived with us up to now. Anytime is tea time. That was the theme. Anytime is tea time. So we were to write about it. Just like the essay. Yes, we had to write about it. And then we would do the practical aspect of it. You know, there will be guests in the beauty contest. You might have seen the pictures. Yes, yeah. Yes. There were many people participated, but they picked 3 of us. I think one lady who got the prize is from Toro, then myself, and then a lady from Buganda. Yes. So there were 3 of us that were picked. So when we were picked now for the final, we had to do the practical. To actually make because tea is a social drink. Yes. And being a social drink, you have to promote the drinking of tea to your guests.
Okay.
So when I'm serving, first of all, I must know how to brew tea because the tea must be tasty to the mouth. So I must brew tea properly. Two, after brewing tea properly, I must serve it also properly.
The right way, yeah.
So that it can appeal to the person I'm serving should have a desire to have a second cup.
That's true.
Or should have a desire to have tea at her own place or whatever. That was the purpose. So it so happened that, yes, the writing and the benefits of tea was very well done by me. I believe I chose a nice dress.
Yes.
You know.
And then the media.
And then the media bought me up.
We have a record, don't we?
The media, I think the media just got their choice.
Yes.
And they didn't listen to what they...
We seem to have a record, clearly.
Yes, so for them, and it was very clear that I was the first runner-up.
Yes.
And the other Mutoro girl was the first. It was the prize winner. But the media just set me up. And right from that time, and for me...
No, but it's not bad to be likable. It is not a bad thing.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, for me, to serve tea like a villager from Dokolo. And that's not what Brooke Bond wanted. But,
so the media took it on and
the media took it up. And even now, even if you tell them that it was never a Miss Uganda contest. For them, they have insisted she was their first Miss Uganda. Full stop. The other day they were parading. I think they were just dreaming about me. So, well, I don't. They started parading some beautiful girls and putting an arrow on the head of one of them. And this is the one.
A very tall one, by the way.
So, at very many, even my children, my grandchildren, they were sending me, "Hey, mom, so this was you, eh? You were hot." And, you know, so I would now look for the real picture of Brooke Bond. Yes. I would send them. I said, "But this is the one which looks like me. Not this one.
This one is very."
I said, in any case, it's same.
How then do you get to move to your next stage of life, or how does this particular contest then influence the next part of your life?
I think I would say that the first essay writing competition
is the one
did change my journey because it gave me extra facilitation for my education. I used to fly East African Airways. You know, they used to have students' fare was much cheaper. So for me, I would be flying. I would fly. I think the first journey to Nairobi, I went by train.
Yes.
But thereafter, when I contacted the Brooke Bond and said I'm now at Nairobi University, and then they asked me what they would want, what I would want to use my money for.
Yes.
Because they had kept money for me. So I told them my transport from Uganda to Kenya, and I would prefer to use either train or air. And even some of the necessities, like bed sheets and whatnot.
So then you get into the work.
One of the things which the current generation really miss, at the time we were at the university, some top companies would even come and interview us from the university. They would know, I think through the university administration, they would know who are the best students, and you know, they would spot us out. By the time I was leaving university, I had been spotted out to work for, I think, ESO Oil Company in the public relation department. I had been spotted to work for Madvani. In other words, looking for a job was not a problem. Was not a problem. At least not for me. But I chose to work for parastate organizations. So I worked for State Trading Corporation, and I think I enjoyed my work there, import-export, which was quite relevant to what I enjoyed doing. And thereafter, I moved to the licensing organization, which was a new organization called Export-Import Corporation. And I worked under Giant Madvani, who was the chair of that parastate organization. So I worked there as the licensing officer. Thereafter, I really moved on to Uganda Advisory Board of Trade. Then I moved in to set up a branch of Uganda Advisory Board of Trade, which was dealing with export and import cooperation.
Yes.
And under my leadership, I was able to open a branch of the Uganda Export Import Corporation in Rwanda. Yes. I opened another office in Kenya. We even bought a property. So you can see that I enjoyed management work.
Yes, you did.
You know, I just landed in the very kitchen.
And while you were there, you did focus on pushing for women to be in leadership positions in all of these different...
I did not do it consciously because then again, when you are low down, you don't have power to push the women when you are low down there. But one thing which I did, which I was able to demonstrate, don't push me and don't ignore me.
Yes.
Judge me by the quality of work I'm presenting. And I'd set myself a standard that where they want work to be done, to be submitted next week, I will submit mine before next week. That's my standard, you know. So that if anybody says, you know, these women, they will say, no, there's breastfeeding or, that's
no
not
excuse,
me.
yes.
In fact, the day I gave birth to my firstborn, I was visiting, because I was the licensing officer in the Import-Export Corporation. I was visiting industries. I went to Uganda Blanket. I went to UGIL, Uganda Government Industry, the one which is still there in Bugolobi. And, you know, they had upstairs and downstairs. I would just walk in and out. But guess what? That day, I visited all these industries. And I was supposed to come back. I went to rest and to sort out things in my house, which is not far away. I was living in Wampeo, one of the Wampeo flats, which is not far away, where my office was in Crescent Towers, the ground floor. So my idea was to go home, sort out the family. I was then still a newly married woman. But when I went back, labor started. I think that exercise of moving up and down and climbing stairs and whatnot could have triggered the labor. So during that period, and thank God I went home. So during that period, as I was now trying to take my shower and whatnot, I was feeling pain. Then after some time, then I would feeling pain. This pain that comes and goes. So, of course, the office was shocked the following day to hear that the commercial officer has given birth.
Wow. Because they've seen you throughout.
Who was running up and down the stairs. But that's that's the beauty of being young. You know.
So now, while you're into the working environment, now you've had your first child, you move on. How did you find your way back to politics? I understand as a child, from what we've talked about, you picked interest. So, but how then now, as an older woman, a young mother, or maybe a few years on, how did you pick interest to say, now I want to get back into something of this nature?
Well, I think what I can do is to say I held on to two things at the same time. I didn't want to lose sight. I didn't want politics to make me lose sight of my profession, because I worked hard for it.
Yes.
And I wanted to prove that I could do it. Yeah. And so I kept it on. But I remained active in politics. I remained an active youth, even right from the university. I participated in the student politics when I was at the university. And even when I came out, you remember, during Obote's time, the youths were very, very highly mobilized. Under NUSU and NUYU. NUSU focused on the students' politics. That's why we didn't have strikes in schools during Obote's time, because the administration was kept on their toes by the student organization, who were down to earth They were always there to help and to do good for the welfare of the school. Then the Nuyo took care of the youth outside school. And it so happened that this man who eventually became my husband was actually officer in charge of youth in the Ministry of Culture and Community Development. So I was very much alive with the political activities of the day. My own brother, whom I looked to so much for mentorship, the late Odura Per, a colleague of the current president, it was highly political. And so political environment was always around me, you know. So I kept quite close to the UPC family in terms of the personalities, in terms of the activities and the youth functions, which sometimes would take us even to State House. I would be there, you know. So I was known in the youth circle, and I kept active in that area. Circle, When the UPC held its delegates conference in 1969 December, I was there when the president was shot at. I was in that conference, and I was the one in charge. I was in the committee in charge of taking care of the Tanzanian delegation. So I did not lose sight. So while I was active playing my role in politics, it did not interfere in any way with my professional work. I would go to my office, do my work, nothing was lacking. And at that time, men were very skeptical. Actually, the society was very skeptical about educated women making good families. They thought we were like another male in the house. So they were very critical of us. So we have to do things extra to prove that we could. Yes, I can still be a good wife. And to the extent that you may not believe it, I went through some weird cultural rituals to prove that I'm not despising the culture. The culture, yes. In my culture of Lao, there is what they call Tueyo Lao, where a bride, a newly married woman, has to go through that, what I call induction into the clan of the husband. Yes. And the weird part of it is that they have to undress you. They have to undress you and make you wear some very scanty clothes yes. between, you know, that kind of thing.
That was difficult, but you did it.
Yeah, but with modifications.
Yes.
Because my mother-in-law realized that she had the danger of having me reject it, refuse it. So the only thing is, let's design it such a way she will accept. Yeah. So they allowed me to have some gown on, and I went through that ceremony. And of course, that day, because of the nature of the ceremony, yes, the children going to school on that day, yes, they did. It's like it was like it was like the roads. Yes. Because our home is not far from the road, from the main road, and it's near the Gombola Center. Yes. The children were like mounting a guard of honor. They lined up the routes because they wanted to see Mr. OGWAL-'s wife naked.
Can you imagine?
You know, then they look at your bums and, you know, how does the breast look like, and, you know, that kind of thing.
And children are very curious.
They're very curious. And even the general public, they wanted to see, who is this girl? Yes, she's pretty beautiful. So they all wanted to see the beautiful girl, but naked. So I went in there, I went through the ceremony in that modified form, at least to give them comfort. Yes. That I'm not here to despise
culture, no matter, regardless of the fact that it does objectify women.
My own mother didn't go through it because my father condemned it. Yes. But because the clan I was married into was still promoting that There's no way I could refuse.
That is
because the fact that I've accepted the man, I
You
can as well
his-
accept.
Yes. When do you get actively and majorly in politics now?
I remain in contact with the UPC leadership that were in exile in Dar es Salaam. I was never arrested by Idi Amin, but I had very difficult situations which I encountered. There is this Eid the Muslim celebration.
Yes.
I think one of them, I don't know, it takes place around November. And there was no rice in the country. And I was the officer in charge of imports of those activities. I think I was the operations manager of in the Uganda Advisory Board of Trade. And so it was my duty to make sure that rice, some consignment of rice, arrived in the country to allow Idi Amin and the Muslim community to celebrate their Maulidi or whatever it is. So I did my best, and with my contacts in Kenya, I was able to manage to get some rice, but with the permission given by the head of state, because there was shortage of food and they were not allowing it. So we had to get some consignment of rice specifically for that purpose. And when the goods were coming in, the lorries broke down. And when the lorries broke down, Idi Amin thought it was a sabotage. It was alleged that the rice was deliberately detained to have it poisoned, so that we would poison the president and the Muslim community.
That was difficult.
So I was interdicted. I was suspended from work. I stayed home while they were testing each and every bag. Each and every bag. They took the sample and they tested the sample in one day. They found there was nothing. So when they didn't find any, but that was just luck, because Idi Amin didn't have to wait for the test.
Samples.
Yes. But I think, one, because being a woman, and two, maybe just God, God's protection power. And so when the report was officially submitted, then Idi Amin then ordered for my. But mind you, Idi Amin knew me personally. He knew me personally. The other nasty experience I had with him was when my own husband was arrested. It was alleged that he was recruiting the youth to join Obote in the bush, to form a force to overrun the government. And so he was arrested and put in the Singapore cell in CPS. Singapore cell was a cell where you only last a night. You only last a night. You were condemned to death. So, but they kill you in shift. Another group come, another group. So I think something went into my head. There is this nice man called Henry Kiemba, who is a very close friend of my husband. They went to the same school in Mwiri. So I decided to call Henry Kiemba, who was then the personal assistant to the president or whatever. So I called him at weird hour. I think it was 2 a.m. because I couldn't sleep. Because now in my mind, my husband was dead.
Yes.
Because the manner in which he was arrested, put in the boot. When somebody put in the boot.
Definitely, yes.
So I said, now, my husband cannot die when I'm quiet. While I have my mouth, I must use it. So I called State House. And of course, whoever answered said there was a meeting actually going on. The president on that day was meeting cultural leaders. And it was strange that they were meeting at that hour. But still I insisted. I said, this is an emergency. And there's an emergency. I must talk to Henry Kiemba. So Henry Kiemba came on phone. And I told him, Kiemba, can you imagine? My husband is dead. So he said, how? How did he die? I said, they came, they arrested him, they put him in a boot, and I'm sure he's already dead. So I want you to know, and I want to talk to the president. So it's Henry Kiemba who told me the president is meeting cultural leaders. But I said, no, I must talk to him. He said, okay, let me tell him. So Kemba told that Cecilia team. At that time, they didn't know me. They didn't know Guam. Knew that. He's on the line. She's saying the husband is dead. But I know her, yes. So Amin came on phone. So I didn't know how to talk to him. I didn't know how to handle the conversation. So I just started yelling on phone. Can you imagine, my husband is killed? You have killed my husband. So he was now trying to calm me down. When did he die? Who killed him? I was saying he was picked from home, put in the boot, he's dead. And so Amin said, now, calm down. If he's not dead, he will not die. And so, surprisingly,
he was not dead.
He was released the following day.
That was a relief.
But my children keep telling me, but mom, with all this difficult situation, how comes we were all born during Amin's time, except one child?
Could be a valid question, but
in time of crisis,
yes,
you do what you can do best.
That is true.
The only best I could do was give birth to my children. It's a free gift from God.
From God.
And that is it. So it was difficult. But like everybody else, things were hard. Yes. Until death came very close to our door after the death of Archbishop Janan Loom. Things became bad for any Lango in a church. And it so happened, one of the ministers, and actually in life, it has taught me a question: be nice to everyone. Because you never know who will save your life.
That is true.
You must need it. So there was a driver to my brother, who was a Nubian, became a minister. And this man drove right up to our house and said, Mama, I would advise you and your brother Tom to leave. And don't ask me questions. But how do I live? Like, how do I live? So now we have to design how to live. So my husband with older children, they were still young, but we call them older children. Yeah. The firstborn, the secondborn, thirdborn. That was the first consignment. They had to leave by going on foot through the border. Is it Busia or Tororo border? That is the first consignment, so they went. Me, I went by road with my brother following me. I was driving myself a 404 Pujo with my baby, who was about 2-3 months, and an helper in the car, and my brother was also driving. He was a PS. He later became a PS. But my brother, as a lawyer, was following me with a 404 car. And you can't imagine, God can make you do impossible things. So when I arrived at the border, I didn't know what to say. There were all these people, because they were all suspicious.
Yes.
And and when I arrived there, I just asked them, I said, you mean you have not been told that I am coming? Yeah.
Like they should.
You know, desperation can make you do impossible things.
Yes.
You mean you have not been told that I'm coming? So, these people started telling each other that this could be Nora Amin. Nora Amin used to come from my home area. So, could this be Nora Amin or one of the wives? Because the way I was talking,
yes,
I had
with all the confidence,
I had some power and some confidence. So these people just opened for me, my brother, and you could see this child was vomiting all over. And that's one of the things which made me to intimidate. I said, you can see how much I am littered all over with vomit, and you are telling me you are not aware that I'm coming. You should have been told that. So, thanks be to God, they didn't ask who I was. Because if they had asked for my passport, I was finished.
That was going, yes.
They just opened the gates, And we drove through with my bodyguard, my brother. When we came back from exile, I was more involved in the mobilization to redesign the organizational structure of the UPC Secretariat in Uganda House and setting it up to make it really properly organized and professionally run. You know, we had professors, we had people, very distinguished personality to run the different departments in the UPC Secretariat. The Secretary General opted to be a full-time minister, so it was the Minister of Internal Affairs, and I was left in charge of running the UPC Secretariat. So that's where the Tito Kello School found me, with all its devastation. That's where Museveni's coup found me. I was still running the party secretariat, and I continue running the party secretariat.
So now, some of the challenges, of course, as a woman getting into the work environment, you're a businesswoman, you're working, you're in parliament now. Some of these things that really people need to understand that, yes, they exist, but then how to maneuver around them.
All politicians have to find their bearing. And like the Bible says, what do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? And once you have defined your role and fitted yourself, you are willing to ignore the cost that comes with it, the challenges that come with it. For a female, it's even heavier, because a woman has to prove herself more than a man, because you are entering a male-dominated area. A man thinks, this is my office, why are you here? You know, why are you here? So I have to convince this man that I'm entitled to be here because I can do even better than him.
Yes.
So you have to prove yourself without being antagonistic. Women don't have to be antagonistic to men when they are articulating their roles as women. Are you going to move higher and start looking at your position as being something more important
than the family or the man?
Than the man.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We cannot exhaust this really interesting conversation here. What do you love to eat?
Split peas. We call it agira. That goes with, we call it corn, we call it blow. And of course, malakwang, our vegetables are very tasty.
Yes. Thank you so much for making time with us. And of course, just a reminder, we're here at Daughter's Exclusive here at Ginger Road, Spear House. My name is Rowena Kajumba. Our super soul sister today, Cecilia OGWAL, has given us a very interesting story. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Till next time, bye.